Hello, everybody. Welcome, as always. It's Thursday, so we've got the Ask Me Anything happening for the CrossFit Linchpin private track, the closed Facebook group. Do this every Thursday. Members submit questions, other members upvote them, and of course, the most popular ones get answered live each week. So I've gone through all the questions an hour or two ago, identified the top three most upvoted. I've got my answers for that. And the only potentially bad thing that's going to happen during today's AMA is that these questions will finally let the cat out of the bag that I'm an odd human being, not normal, for better or for worse. So let's dive right in, and I'll let everybody know how I'm the strange one. So the first most upvoted question, which will highlight the point that I just made, is from Paul S. That's the most upvoted one. It says, besides CrossFit, what other sports are you and Emily into? We know your youngsters are active in sports, but I'm curious about you two. Are you golfers? Do you like to watch baseball? Any shooting sports? Anything competitive? Skiing? Dodgeball? What have you got? Okay. So I'll start with my wife. So Emily enjoys skiing very much. She mountain bikes as well. Mountain bikes, the kids when they do it. And I ski when the kids are going skiing and mountain bike when the kids want to go mountain biking. But I won't say that I enjoy it. But she enjoys both of those activities, which again is why I know that I'm the oddball. She's a normal human being, and judging by how many people love mountain biking and how many people love skiing, I know that I'm the weird one that doesn't get it. I just don't know what's happening with skiing. You put on all this gear, your dexterity and mobility is reduced by 50%. You drive someplace, you pay an exorbitant fee to go on a slope that's covered with frozen rain. You make your way down to the bottom, and then you do it again. And apparently human beings think that's an absolute blast. And apparently apparently everybody does. I know that I'm the weird one. So I try not to let my oddness affect the family. And when the family wants to go skiing, I go skiing with them. And as far as watching sports, Emily loves the Summer Olympics. Absolutely adores the Summer Olympics, especially as a former gymnast. So she loves watching the gymnastics. Completely adores that. Tries not to miss any of it. She also, for the Summer Olympics, really enjoys the track and field and the swimming. So now here's the other part where I just, it's like a therapy session for me to let everybody in the world know that I am odd. I don't know why, I'm odd. So for sports really don't do anything for me in any way, shape, or form. I'd love to lie to you and say something different, but I don't know. They just don't do anything for me. If all of the major sports, from the NFL to baseball to hockey to basketball to whatever I'm forgetting, just didn't exist tomorrow, it wouldn't have any impact on my life in any way, shape, or form. I wouldn't shed a tear. I wouldn't miss a beat. It would be utterly and completely irrelevant. Again, I know that's heresy to the overwhelming majority of population in the world. People love and adore sports. I'm just weird. They don't do anything for me. As a matter of fact, and I don't have anything against them. I don't know. They don't do anything for me. As a matter of fact, I'll beat this point a little bit more. It recently came to my attention that the Super Bowl is this weekend. I did not know that. This came to my attention when the boy's grandfather asked Deacon, our 12-year-old, who you rooting for in the Super Bowl? And in my weird cyborg mind, I was like, it must be the Super Bowl soon. Didn't know that. And Deacon said that he's rooting, I believe, for the Bengals. So I'm going to assume that the Bengals are one of the two teams playing in the Super Bowl. if you hooked me up to a polygraph, I could not tell you who the other team playing in the Super Bowl in, I guess, what is 3 days. Absolutely no clue. So that, I think, kind of paints an interesting picture of how my mind works. And it also reminds me of a funny story. I lived in California for many years, and in San Jose, there's an outdoor mall called Santana Row, and there's a really good burger joint at Santana Row in San Jose, California. If you ever happen to be there, it's called Counter Burger. Really good burgers. And I was sitting at the counter and having myself a delicious burger, and there was a massive human being sitting next to me. This is probably, I don't know, 7 years ago. And I'm just enjoying my burger and thinking that this person next to me is just huge. And everybody that walked by this guy either like whispered something or murmured something, and a couple of people stopped and asked him for photographs, and things like that. And so about halfway through my burger, I was like, "Pardon me, sir. Obviously, I guess you're somebody of notoriety. I mean, everybody is stopping, asking you for photos. If you don't mind me asking, why are they doing that?" And he said his name, which I couldn't tell you right now. It didn't stick in my head. And I think I should. I guess if I'm a normal person, I should have known the name. I guess beats me. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not following you. And he's like, "Oh, I play in the NFL." And I was like, "Oh, for who?" And it was just an honest question because I had no clue who this person was. And he played for, uh, um, San Francisco. And I was like, "Oh, cool." And I think I asked him, like, "Do you like it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, great." And could you please pass the ketchup? And that was the extent of the conversation. To this day, I couldn't tell you um, what the gentleman's name was because it just didn't stick in my head as, I don't know, as anything useful that my brain should keep long term. So, I mean, if my kids were in that situation, that would have been probably the greatest day of their life. But I'm just the oddball. And I don't know why that is. Again, I got nothing against sports, and I understand. I don't know, it entices people to get some passion. They get behind their city or state, I guess. Teamwork, camaraderie, competition, rah rah rah, all that good stuff. So I guess it's all good. Just nothing for me. And I don't watch any of it on TV. I think just because, wait, it's just not that interesting to me. But B, free time is just so precious and so limited, I think anyway, that if I divvy up what I need to do with work and maintaining the community, then I've got to get fit, and then I've got to spend time, meaningful time, ideally with my kids, and then hopefully get out of the house and spend non-screen time with other adult human beings, having friendships out there, and it doesn't leave a lot of time left over. And then any of that time that is left over, I've got some goals in this life, some serious goals that I'm actively pursuing. And so I will spend it on that. And that might involve reading or research or whatever it happened to be to try to get closer to those goals. And suddenly the day is just gone and it doesn't, and that's it. It's just kind of gone. So that's, uh, that's that. But I know that I'm the abnormal one. I know that I'm the abnormal one. And that's fine. It's funny. Our boys, they love sports. They're sports fanatics. Deacon and Nash, 12 and 10 years old. They play basketball right now. They both play tackle football. They're both lacrosse season has also started, so that's happening. Nash has in the past played soccer as well as Deacon. They just love it. They eat it up. We got a basketball hoop in the driveway. If they get any free time, they're out shooting around. They ask me to go out there and shoot around with them or throw the football out there with them. To which if I'm not doing something mission critical, I obviously try to make them a priority. If the answer is yes, then I definitely go out there and throw the football inaccurately, or throw the basketball somewhere in the vicinity of the rim and just pray that it goes in. But I have a blast, so I'm always happy to go out there and do that with them, and I support their love and passion of sports. But again, it's very foreign to me, which is fine. I know I'm the weirdo. sport parents are very crazy to me too. I sit on the sidelines of these games as somebody that's minimally invested, right? I mean, obviously, I want my child to do well. It'd be great if they won, but that's about where it ends. It's not, nothing in the world's going to change, really. I look at these parents just ferociously screaming at their kids, at the refs, at the other team, sometimes with like true anger at like a 10-year-old's basketball game. I can't wrap my head around what's happening. And again, I've said before, I wonder to myself, are these people this passionately involved with their children's mathematic grades? If so, awesome. I tend to think that's not the case. And I think your efforts would be probably better served to this young person's long-term success with a little more effort there. But hey, that's just my random observations. It could be right or could be wrong. And it's also funny because, I'll stand on the sidelines, watching the basketball game. This happened recently. Our kids are playing in a tournament, and I brought our 10-year-old. Our boys are quite talented athletes, that's for sure. And this was Nash's game in particular. So I brought Nash to his game, and he's playing in this tournament game, and it's a big game. It's a tournament. The kids are all wound up. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, the parents, as I just mentioned, they're all in. They're crazy invested, as if the world's going to come to an end one way or another. And all of them standing there with the dads on the side, and they're talking about just sports in general, and I'm oddly quiet, and they're all talking about, like, on the way to the game, what they said to their kids in the vehicle, like, hey, last few games I've watched, and this is what's going on with your shot, and you got to do this. They're all also coaching their kids. And, that kind of went around the circle, as human beings tend to do. Every person tells a little funny quip as to the motivational speech they gave their child driving to the game. It came time there was obviously my turn to input. And this was actually what happened in there, because I know that regular human beings give these speeches to their children. We pulled up to the game, and I think I said to Nash something like, all right, buddy, got the tournament today. How are you feeling? And he's like, good, a little nervous, but good, just ready. And I was like, great. I said, look, here's the deal. You're a far better athlete than I am. You know far more about this stuff than I do. And I watch you play. You're really good. So just go do what you do, buddy. Have fun. And, it's all good. That was my crazy motivational speech. Everybody looked at me like I was weird. So, anyway, that's the answer to the first question and my feeling on other sports. So hopefully that didn't bore people too much. Okay, let's see. Next most upvoted question was from Patrick S. And I always feel the need to say, not me, a different Patrick S. And Patrick asked, I've noticed in 2 of your last strict pull-up workouts, which I did Facebook Live videos for in the private track, I noticed that you swap rounds with overhand versus underhand pull-ups. What is your reasoning behind that, and do you recommend it? So nothing overly complicated. So pull-ups versus chin-ups, right? So chin-ups are palms facing you, aka a supinated grip. Chin-ups are palms away from you. Pull-ups are palms away from you, aka a pronated grip. And people might say that having your palms facing you, doing chin-ups, maybe hits the arms and the chest a little bit more. Having your palms away is maybe more back and shoulders. I'm here to tell you both of them blast my back and lats. That's for darn sure. I do feel it a bit more in the bicep area if I'm doing it palms towards me. But truthfully, I do them just for variance. As far as I'm concerned, if you go from a dead hang position, your arms fully locked out, and you get your chin over the bar, you did a pull-up. Pronated grip, supinated grip, something we used to call like commando pull-ups, where you've got one hand facing one direction, one hand facing the other, and you kind of pull the bar and hit like your trap on each side of your head. Those are pull-ups too. They're all, in my mind, overwhelmingly accomplishing the same general principle with just very minute differences. But I enjoy doing it just to kind of work both, that's all. We tend to do far more pull-ups in CrossFit than chin-ups, so we tend to do far more with your palms away from you than when your palms facing you. And I think there's actually quite a good reason for that as well. And I would say the reason that if you said, hey, you can only do one for the rest of your life, then I would do pull-ups, palms away. That would be my choice. And I always link things back to real world application. And when I think of a pull-up, it's a very useful movement to potentially surmount an obstacle in the real world. A wall, get through a window, over a fence, something like that. And if you're running up to a fence or an open window or a low wall that you want to surmount, you're most likely going to run up, jump, and grab that thing. How? With your palms facing away from you, right? Cup your hands on the top of it and pull. There's not too many of those situations that you're going to run up and then somehow be able to grab it with your palms facing you. So when I think about overwhelming application to the real world, I think palms away, pull-ups, pronated grip. But that doesn't mean I just want to work just that at the exclusion of the other for the rest of my life. And so very frequently in the accessory work, you may notice that when we put in strict pull-ups, they're quite often put in with a supinated, palms facing you, chin-up style, just to make sure that we are working both. But if a workout, if Fran pops up and you're doing 2159 thrusters and pull-ups, now I know here's where the crazies come out. And again, maybe I'm just not that wrapped around the axle about it. Fran does say thrusters and pull-ups. So it doesn't say thrusters and chin-ups. So by the letter of the law, Fran is done with pull-ups, which means palms away, pronated grip. I shouldn't say I don't care about it that much, but I kind of don't. Like if I saw somebody do a 2 minute and 40-second Fran and they did the pull-ups as chin-ups with their palms facing them with a supinated grip, I would think of a lot of things to say to that person, such as, that's amazing. Holy cow, you're fast. Congratulations. That was insane. That was amazing. One of the things that wouldn't pop into my head was, ooh, sorry, that doesn't count because those are chin-ups. Excuse me, those are, chin-ups and not pull-ups. So, too bad, so sad. That Fran doesn't count. That wouldn't even pop into my head. But I have heard and seen and read comments like that from people on social media, God bless them, that will utterly and completely discredit someone's effort and workout or whatnot because of some sort of, I think, just minutia like that. I mean, the general thing, pull-ups or chin-ups, is your body weight didn't change. So you're taking your body weight from a full extension of the arm and getting your chin up over the bar. Roger that. Good to go. Life's great. You're going to get fit. Mission accomplished. Now, I obviously understand that you've got to have standards, because if you don't have standards, everything's doing a different thing. But that also largely falls into potentially different things that you would really have to sweat the load on if you were in a competition setting versus you just want to get fit and have fun. If you did Fran for the rest of your life with your palms facing you, you would be a beast. And then you might go to some competition that that doesn't count. Again, so I tend to look at the overwhelming big moving blocks that we're trying to accomplish, and that's where I, tend to really put a lot of time, effort, and energy in there, and the small minutia, it's all good. So I like to mix it up just for some variance. So I would say also you can feel free to mix it up as well. So yeah, good question on the pull-up. Final most upvoted question of the top 3 was from Chris L. And what is this? Okay, this from Chris L says, it's been over 15 years of CrossFit as a sport, which is crazy actually just to hear that out loud. What are some things that stick out? What are some things that stick out that are different, be it pros or cons, basically today versus how it was back in 2007? Interesting. So you might be talking about, since you mentioned CrossFit as a sport, things that specifically stick out as having evolved or being quite different on a pro or con side. in the just the sport around like CrossFit Games from then to now. I might take that and massage it a bit into just CrossFit in general. Now, what's interesting is this might also relate back to Paul S.'s initial question about whether or not I'm a sports fan or sports crazy, because CrossFit has a couple sides, right? There's the CrossFit that we do every day to live long-term, wonderful, happy, healthy, fit lives. And then there's CrossFit, the sports side. I am far, like 1,000 times more, far more invested and interested and passionate about what us regular everyday people do with regular CrossFit than I am with the games. So that's kind of my caveat there, is to, as believe it or not, even with all the stuff that I've done with the games and media and broadcast, all that, and interviews, I'm not like a CrossFit Games fanatic. It's just a sideshow, and that's not supposed to be in any sort of pejorative or derogative or demeaning or diminishing kind of way. It's just, in my mind, like constantly varied functional moves at high intensity to support an amazing life. Like that is the main course, the huge spotlight. That's what it's all about. And then everything else is a little bit dimmer on the side. But that's just me. I mean, there are people that live and breathe the games, and again, would consider myself a lunatic. So that's just that. But with that being said, I've got some thoughts. Some general thoughts. Let's see. The games in general, people love it. That's fantastic. It fires them up. That's great. And if them watching it and getting fired up and passionate makes them start CrossFit or go to any gym and just start working out, that's a wonderfully positive, truly 100% beneficial and awesome side effect of the games that I know happens, and it's fantastic. So that's a huge win for the home team. Now, we also know that sure, some people might be intimidated by what they see in the games and think that if they can't do that or look like that, CrossFit's not for them. That happens every now and then. I know that that's a shame, and ideally, through education on how CrossFit is infinitely scalable, and it really can be for everybody and should be for everybody because life demands functional movements, that we would be able to alleviate some of those concerns, right? I mean, that's a big goal of what we do with all these conversations right here. So it has done tons of good, CrossFit Games, and it will continue to do tons of good, and that's fantastic. And also, I think another great thing about the CrossFit Games and the sports side, as it has evolved from 2007 to now, is back in 2007 and 8 and 9, nobody was sustaining their existence on planet Earth financially as a CrossFit Games athlete. And that has changed. And that's really cool. I mean that. I mean, that's great. If somebody wants to be a games competitor, a CrossFit competitor, and they're actually good enough to do it, you have the possibility now in 2022 to have that buy you a home and, put your kids through school and pay your car payment. That's fantastic. And that's worlds different than how it used to be. That's a true evolution of the sport. The prize money is bigger, the sponsorship opportunities are bigger, the eyeballs on it are bigger, and everything about that largely has benefited the athletes, which is great. So that's very cool. So those are all pros. Asking for cons as well, I would say there's only one con. Well, there might be more, but there's only one that really sticks in my head as something to chat about, and that is a potential downside. Potential is, if you're asking just for my personal opinion, I haven't taken a poll on this, but just I'm immersed in this stuff 24 hours a day, and so I kind of get an empirical sense of what's going on, what I observe. I think a potential downside is that far too many people think they should train like CrossFit Games competitors or games athletes. And without mincing words, I think that is a horrible idea that leads to absolutely nowhere good in the long term anyway. It's just too much for most people, and I think most people can't wrap their head around that. And so I think it's real potentially bad for people that have just like think that they should go down that road because that's how their heroes train, or whatever it happens to be, or they get into CrossFit now. They just think that's what CrossFit is. And so there's the potential that if all they've watched is the games, they have a distorted view of what CrossFit actually is and what's actually required or appropriate or effective and beneficial for most human beings to actually get fit. You know, CrossFit is not double days or triple sessions, but I think some people who got into it later and were just largely influenced by the games might think that. I think that's a road to potential heartbreak, to potential injured backs, knees, and shoulders, and being mentally and physically burned out. You know, CrossFit is not, and this might be a shocker, not to all of you watching, CrossFit is not a heavy lift every day followed by getting a little sweaty. That's not CrossFit. And that's not going to lead to long-term health and fitness for people. So, again, there's a tremendous amount of pros, and my cons right now, they're all kind of linked to that same thing, which potentially it could distort somebody's view of what CrossFit actually is and what is actually required for most human beings to get fit. But again, I don't know how much that does or doesn't happen. That's why we have these, educational videos and whatnot to let people know what CrossFit really is, what they can do to make sure that you're still doing it 5, 10, 15 years from now, happy and healthy, and then life will be good. So that's that. All right. So now that I've identified that I'm the weirdo in the group that doesn't really follow sports, I guess we'll talk about the shout-outs. Okay, let's see. Oh, and I'm sure everyone's noticed it, but submit your garage videos if you so desire. We're posting all the videos from people who follow the Linchpin private track, work out in their home, in their living room, in their apartment, in their backyard, in their garage, wherever it is. I want to see your space. And if you want me to share your space with the world, then film a video. Try to keep it less than 10 minutes, let's say. Film it landscape mode of where you work out. Walk us through what you got going on. Email that to me. Email me the YouTube video at info at CrossFitLinchpin.com, and then I will take that and I will put it on the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube channel, which we've got a new playlist on there entitled Garage Gym Tours, and I've been posting one every day, and it's super cool to see all the wonderful Linchpin community all around the world and where they work out. So let's keep that going. All right, our Linchpin shout-outs. Here we go. First one from Kevin P., and I entitled this one Front Squats and Babies. So the workout on this day was 4 sets of 7 front squat. And Kevin posted, "If you've seen my legs in shorts, you would easily identify today's workout as way outside my wheelhouse. But I'm super happy with the progress Linchpin has provided since we transitioned to our garage almost 2 years ago, especially after a virtually sleepless night dealing with a sick and teething babies." And there's 2 little beautiful babies in the photo there. And he worked up to a 7-rep front squat at 180 pounds on no sleep. There's some dad strength right there. And he's got the lightning bolt next to that on the BTWB app. So that was a PR. So he PR'd. Very, very cool. Next one, I've got labeled Unbroken Double Unders. This is from Travis R. The workout of the day was Annie. This was back in November 15th. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 of double under and ab mat sit-ups. And Travis wrote, "Beyond excited about this one. First time ever went unbroken on all the double unders of Annie. How cool is that?" And that landed him a 49-second PR on Annie. And his time was 8 minutes and 15 seconds, which is cooking. All right, final of the 3 Linchpin shoutouts is from Tanner B. Tanner, as we all know, and I entitled this one, No Cherry Picking. So Tanner is a large, strong human being. He weighs 250 pounds. Just recently put up on the back squat day. What did he back squat? 475 for a double, or something obnoxious like that. So basically, what most of us would love to have is a deadlift. He back squatted for a double. And like I said, big guy, 250 pounds. But what I appreciate and respect about Tanner is he does not cherry pick. And that's why he's not just strong, he's fit, right? There's a difference between being strong and fit. There's a difference between being good at body weight and being fit, of having a good engine and being fit. Fitness requires variance, which is what we do at Linchpin. We don't shy away from that. And so he did great on this workout, which was back in November, and it was death by thrusters, followed by death by strict pull-ups, which again, strict pull-ups at 250 pounds, you normally don't put those two in the same sentence, but he wasn't cherry picking. And so he posted, shifted my week a bit right, woof. This wasn't brutally elegant, it was just brutal. Pat, this would be considered a war crime in most countries. These workouts took me behind the woodshed and beat me. Pretty sure my soul left my body and I haven't found it 15 minutes later. Really proud of the 4-rep PR on the thrusters. Did fantastic, got himself a PR. He got over 14 rounds on the thrusters and absolutely crushed it. And 10 rounds plus 8 on the strict pull-ups. So again, variance is a wonderful thing. And it gets back to, at Linchpin, we do CrossFit. We do what works. We do what is effective. We're not concerned with what's popular or what looks flashy on Instagram. I know I say this all the time, but we do it. We do what works. And that's why people are feeling good and moving in the right direction. So all of you, keep being awesome. I'll keep doing the best of my ability to support all of you, and we will march happy and healthy forward. So have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.